Hi everyone, welcome to Unit 4 of COM 300 summer session. I just want to make this kind of brief, give you a couple of quick updates. I'm sort of shocked that we're already halfway through this semester, and we're into Unit 4. With that said, one of the things I wanted to tell you is that I'm going to be ramping up my grading of the scavenger hunt. In other words, you've had 3 weeks, or really 2 weeks, of kind of freebies where you get full 10 points for anything you've basically turned in regarding the scavenger hunt. Starting now, so for units 4, 5, and 6, I'm going to be actually going in and sort of grading. And I'm going to create a quick little rubric to kind of tell you what I'm looking for. But essentially what I want you to do is really think deeply about what you're presenting in terms of memes or clips. And then I really want you to give a kind of thorough explanation about how it works. And some of you are doing that and you're doing great, but I want to make sure for all of you that you're stepping it up a little bit. So some of you may find that you get 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. And you'll see from the rubric why that is. But basically I want everyone to start really stepping it up, which is kind of nice actually for Unit 4 because we're moving into stuff that might be a little bit more interesting to you. I'm not saying that the interpersonal and relational stuff hasn't been interesting, but now we're getting into kind of media and culture. And next week we're going into rhetoric and all that stuff. And this is really where, given our current political situation, things that are going on, it can be kind of interesting to check this stuff out. With that said, I kind of want to really quickly talk about your set of readings. First, you have chapter 26 talking about semiotics, started by the French structuralist Roland Barthes. And this is going to be, I think this is foundational for, especially for rhetoric, but understanding the study of signs and their social and cultural significance. And, you're going to want to really pay attention to the stuff about the sign, the signifier, and the signified. This is just de Saussure's theory of linguistics, but Barthes is taking it into the realm of sort of signs and nonverbal stuff. Well, the other thing that you want to note is that when we're talking about the sign, signifier, and signified, that we are invested in a system. And so this has some resonance with systems theory. In other words, the words we use only make sense within particular systems. So think about that a little bit. In terms of chapter 28, we're skipping 27 because we're going to hit cultural studies a little bit later. Chapter 28, now we're getting into kind of standard media effects theories. And actually, it's interesting that uses and gratifications comes before some of the other ones, before cultivation and before agenda setting, because uses and gratifications really is a kind of interesting theory, thinking about not what effect media has on us, but how we use media and what we use it for. So in many respects, uses and gratifications theory has a larger sense of agency. And one of the things you'll read about and think about that you should think about is that we all know that media has particular effects, but we tend to think of ourselves as immune to it and that only others are duped by media. In other words, like, I can watch that movie, I can watch that show. It's not going to affect how I see the world or how I treat other people, but maybe it would for other people. So media really is, it does have effects, but uses and gratifications kind of says it's not just about that. Certainly we need to be concerned about that, but it's also about what we do with the media and how we use it. Then we're going to jump into chapter 29 where we talk about cultivation theory. And, you'll see the way in which media tends to cultivate particular worldviews. One of the interesting ones that you'll take a look at is mean world syndrome. This is the sense that the world is more violent than it really is because you are getting your sense of the world from media and from specifically TV. I mean, think about when you turn on the TV. We just had a horrible tragedy in Orlando. Somebody targeting the LGBTQ community. And so it's horrific. And we see that day in, day out, whether it be in the world or in this country. And we tend to think, wow, this world is really violent, or I'm not safe going out of the house, when in fact, the reality is, statistically speaking, that you're very, very safe. But mean world syndrome basically suggests that if you get most of your understanding of the world from media, you will see it in those particular ways. It also tends to mainstream different belief systems and values. So when you watch TV shows, like particularly sitcoms, think about the ways in which a particular type of family is being presented to you, and it's sort of the only family that's presented to you, or any representation of any identity category. How is that mainstreamed through media? Then we're going to jump into another interesting one. And again, these are really cool because I think you're going to be able to start seeing not just things that are in your interpersonal or relational lives, but things that are going on in the world. So agenda setting theory. Here's one. It's much more of a mass media sort of theory, but it's kind of talking about the ways in which media don't tell us what to think or how to think, right? But shaping what we think about, what becomes more salient. So what is becoming a big deal? What kinds of news articles are being pushed and talked about endlessly? What issues are being talked about endlessly? So that we start to take it in and say, this is what we need to be concerned about. These are the things that we should be worried about. Many of you might have seen some statistics that come out every once in a while. These are kind of fun, where they talk about, well, should we be worried about terrorism? It's not that we shouldn't be worried about it, but should we be as freaked out about it as some people want us to be? And they say, what we really need to be freaked out are these different things. And so, very few people actually die from terrorist attacks, but many more people die from certain illnesses. And yet we talk about it as though the pressing, most salient issue might be something like terrorism. So think about that as you're reading this chapter. Think about what's going on in the world. These kinds of media sorts of theories are going to be really beneficial to kind of broaden the scope of how we explain things, not just in terms of our personal, interpersonal, and relational lives, but in terms of the world around us. And then for next week, we'll jump into rhetoric, which will be another kind of thing. But a lot of this will be building off some of these things, especially the semiotics chapter. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I'll also we just held a virtual office hours this morning. It was very great. People had some great things to say. I'm going to hold another one on Thursday. I'll post the time as soon as possible. Please join me. If you haven't attended one yet, remember you do need to attend at least one this semester or during this period. And after that, you're just welcome to join me whenever you want. Hope all is well. Good luck, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.